to the RunRX podcast, where we talk about all things running. As many runners know, it's 90% mental. So join Coach Valerie and Coach Caroline as we go through the mental side of running.
Welcome back to the RunRX podcast. I'm your host, Coach Caroline, and I'm here with Coach Valerie. Coach, we've been talking a lot about like how you coach and how to help people with their alignment. And we've started talking. We used to talk a lot about the feet and the legs, right? Now we've been talking much more about the upper body and keeping our alignment. And I'm just using that as a topic, but you mentioned that as runners, we tend to be kind of awkward. Can you explain what you mean by that and maybe a way to help us get past that?
Well, first, let me just say, it's interesting. There's the coordination in running. When you see someone that's running really smoothly, that's kind of the word that gets used, right? Like you'll see someone running and you're like, wow, they look so smooth.
Right.
Part of the reason that they look so smooth is their body is actually really coordinated. So everything's like working as it should, on time, in unison. You're seeing a correct movement, what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And then when you see someone that's not smooth, there's something off, right? And for a lot of us that are especially with RunRX, because we have so many injured runners that come in. That's our main thing. Injured runners. We have a lot of older runners. Well, I noticed, especially over the last several years, how much lack of movement is in people's upper body, especially in their arm and shoulder area. And when I very first started making the running videos, people would comment all the time. All kinds of comments, by the way.
Yeah.
When I very first started making the videos, especially things like, what she did.
Yeah. What are you doing?
But people started to comment, your arms don't move. Your shoulders are really tight. And I was like, first of all, yes, my shoulders really are tight.
Yeah.
However, what was happening was, and I do work on it. However, what was happening was I was so focused on teaching the action of the running, which is the pulling of the foot. I was so focused on it that I wasn't letting go of my upper body. And this is kind of funny too. When I first started learning the running, I learned from Dr. Romanoff, who's the founder of Pose Method. And he said to me, when you stand in pose, bend your arms 90 degrees by your side. Again, when you stand in pose. So I would like lock myself into this 90 degree hold and then go running. And he would be like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I'm holding my arms at 90 degrees. And he's like, well, that's the problem. You're holding. The arms do stay there. However, you've got to let them go so they can swing. And it took me a little while to get that. It was not natural for me because, again, one, I'm a good student. And second, it didn't. In the moment of learning, I was not focused on the upper body. I was just thinking of the feet. So when you run, guys, your arms swing naturally. You don't swing them. They swing on their own. However, if you are holding tension in your neck and shoulders, you limit their ability to swing. And this is important because instead of working on swinging your arms, which again, you don't need to do as an action, you need to allow it to happen. We have to help you release the tension and get a little more comfortable in holding your torso lifted. And this is, again, first of all, and Caroline knows this is a combination of physical activity and mindset. Yeah. Because part of the tension you have in your neck and shoulders is stress. And it can be from anything. It can be from anything in your life. But a lot of people hold their stress on their shoulders. Again, nothing you have not heard before. However, if I don't do anything to alleviate stress, where does it go? See
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm holding on to it. And so we work really, what we do is we do it through physical activity. So I work on people helping to let go using physical movement. That's, just nothing you haven't seen before, neck and shoulder releases. However, what we also work on is getting you into the right mindset of letting go. And
Right.
Caroline helps with that, but we also do it by using the running element of falling.
Hmm.
And so, how often, to be honest with yourself, do you work on your coordination? Who works
Right.
on their coordination on purpose? You see what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like, I'm going to the gym today. I'm going to work on
Yeah.
coordination.
Yeah, yeah. And people don't think about it that way. Just they think about, oh, it's just one foot. It's like walking. It's one foot in front of the other, or
Right.
or oh, I don't need flexible arms. I'm whatever. It's just interesting though when we do see runners that are tight, that are maybe a type A personality, very very, like we call them good learners because they're doing their instruction like you said. I'm going to put my hands right, my arms are 90 degrees, right? And it's
Right.
amazing that if you can get them to, the joke I've always told is, I used to do jet skiing when I was much younger. I had a friend that had a jet ski, and I could not get up on a jet ski. I was horrible on the jet skis, the kind you stood on, right? Until
Mhm.
I had like one good mai tai, right? Then my inhibitions were lower. I would relax, and I could totally. Now, I'm not advocating that you drink and get on a jet ski, guys. My point is though that I needed to relax to be able to perform that physical activity. So I'm just saying that if you start working on, like you said, that getting the tension out, maybe letting go of your day's stuff, doing your warm up to get your mind right for running, doing your skills before you go out and run, right? Those are things that your warm up always has, hip openers. That's a staple, right? And glute bridges, getting your mind and body like prepared for what you're about to do.
Well, the main thing is this, like, yeah, there's exercises, like I said, the physical exercises, but part of it, and this is interesting, like we have to get you there physically, and that takes a while. That's okay. You have nowhere to go, but it also, the thought process of understanding letting go. How do I, so everything has to be the opposite, right? So first I have to like accept that I'm holding tension in order
Hmm.
to let it go, right? And
Right.
that's part of the mindset. But what's interesting, because this is really cool, and I just want to say this to you guys. Um, I've had some of the same people in our running group, and they come on to my Zoom classes. And so I get to work with you live through the Zoom. So throughout the Zoom, I am doing things and cueing people, everybody differently if I see something specific they need. However, we're all working towards the same goal, right?
Right.
So in the beginning, there's so much tension because one, I'm watching you, it's weird, you've never done this, right? So we work
Hmm.
through that. That goes pretty quickly, by the way. But I can see, just so I want people to understand this, I've watched so many thousands of people over the years. I can see it now immediately. First, I had to see it in myself. I
Hmm.
was like, what
Right.
do you mean my arms don't move? What do you mean I'm tense?
Yeah.
What, like you kind of go, what do you, first you're like, oh, I did. And then you're like, why do I do that? Well, who cares? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know why you do that. We're just going to work on not doing that anymore. And the only way to do that is by learning what you're supposed to do. Guys, this is the reality. When you start to learn what to do, all of those habits do go away because you're not doing them anymore. First
Right.
of all, you weren't even aware you were holding so much tension. That's number one. So then you're like, oh, well, that's interesting. So what do I need to do to let go of tension? You can't just think, let go of tension. I wish, doesn't work. So I have to give you physical things to do. And as soon as people start to learn, one, how to hold their body lifted, that's number one. Second, when they get strong enough to hold it, then all of a sudden you're releasing tension. It's so crazy, but it works, right?
Hmm.
And the challenge I have with, so for example, yesterday, let me just gonna say this. I know I talk a lot, but last night in the Zoom, it was such an aha moment for me. I had there was probably 4 or 5 people. They're really small guys. We don't have a lot of people come on. However, it is the same people that are so willing to try. I had them do like 5 minutes of just arms. And when I say that, I'm talking swinging, just
Yeah.
working on opening up the shoulders and being able to swing their arms. And I watched as they did this, how it loosened their whole body up, how their feet were pulling better, I mean, it's so really as a coach, when you start to see these things in people, and like I said, they didn't come on thinking, I'm really tight, and I
Yeah.
didn't say, wow, you guys all look so tight, But
Yeah.
when you can start to see the release, what happens to the runner, to them, is they're feeling the movement pattern. Like if I'm telling them, try to feel this, and then they can actually feel it, that's how you know you let go. So it's just a really cool connection. And
Mhm.
again, we're honest with people. If your head right now, if you have a hard time holding your head up, so a lot of people, when they run, their upper body kind of goes forward, and they all tell me they have weak hips or their glutes aren't firing, or I've got to do more core work. I always
Right.
say, you're absolutely right. You sure do. But the reality is first, let's help you get there and how to hold it. And what you realize, it's not that you're weak at all. It's just that
Right.
you weren't putting yourself in the right position.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, that's just fun part of the learning, and the accountability, right? So like your running part, why do you join a running group? I join a
Right.
running group because I want someone to be there when I go running. And maybe my friend is there, who knows, but you're there for the accountability of the run. Well, who's your accountability partner for your posture?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's interesting to think about it, but all of the work that we do, so much of it is just to help you hold your body up.
Right. And what's so funny is kind of back to what you were talking about with getting them to move their arms. It reminds me of when it was one of we had met once and we were I met you at the track to have a running class with you, like a little session with you. And I remember you bringing this up. You may not even remember you saying this, but it really hit me. And I went, she's so right. We are told like when we're kids, go out and run and play, go do whatever, you have no fear, right? You go out, and then at about what is it, like 8, 9, 10, stop running, don't run on the, don't run on the side of the pool, right? Don't be
Right,
crazy,
right.
don't flail your arms, sit still, right? We're told to sit still. And so as adults, we take so much of that I could just imagine. I know who a lot of our OGs are, our originals, that I could see them being like, what do you mean flail my arms, right? What do you mean? Like,
Oh,
let it
yeah.
go. That I think a lot of that helps in, as you're learning this to be coachable, is to remember that whether you realize it or not, you probably spent decades being told not to let your arms go, right? Don't let your arms flail at your side. Don't enjoy the fall and giggle and laugh and things like that. And don't do the pony step and dance. All those kind of the fun stuff that we wind up doing is we're kind of letting go and loosening up and trying to get past all of the stuff that we're holding on to and loosen up as we go running. It comes into mind when I'm picturing all of our people just like letting their arms go. I'm sure it probably took them a good 5 minutes to really let it go, right?
It took
To
them a good
really,
5 years.
yeah,
I mean, I
absolutely.
listen, like I all my life I didn't play sports, right? So I wasn't an athlete. And when I always worked out. I joined a gym when I was 13 years old. And I've been a gym rat my entire life. And what you learn in a weight room is not loose and letting go.
Right, right.
Everything is tight and and it's strong. And I love that. That's why I like weightlifting. It's for me, it feels good. But what you realize as you get older and as a coach, when I got into running, when I got into triathlons, even going for a bike ride, going swimming, even on when you start to learn cycling, like when I first started to really cycle, like to go for speed. Oh my gosh, my first big downhill. I mean, I think my grip on my brakes, you probably could hear my tires squealing. I was scared.
Yeah.
I did not want to fall or whatever. And my bike guy at the time was like, I am taking the brakes off of your bike. Like I am gonna not let you have brakes. And after a while, I was looking for hills, uphill, downhill, right? But first you
Yeah.
have to let go a little bit. And by the way, guys, like what Caroline's saying, we don't play anymore. And
Yeah.
so as adults, you lose. So when you go for a run in your mind, you're like, I'm stress releasing, I'm going running. But what you don't realize is you're still holding like,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
tension. And so when I first started doing drills, because I was an aerobics teacher at the time, or group fitness, whatever they call it today, I loved the drills. I love skipping and hopping and jumping rope. That's me. I love that stuff. And what I found though is, one, most people don't do that on their own. Why would they? They're adults. And
Yeah.
they're not just naturally inclined, one, to do it or to be good at it. So then they don't do it. Like if you say to I see it all the time, runners, you guys should jump rope. And I'm thinking, how many runners that are good at jumping rope, right?
Right.
Like jumping
Right.
rope is not easy. Should they jump rope or add it in? Absolutely. And it's a lot of fun. And in fact, I just made a jump rope tutorial for our runners because I got asked to do it. I love jumping rope. And so when they see it, they're like, I want to jump rope. How do I start? Right.
Right. Right.
And that's kind of what we teach people is it's not just running, it's movement. And yeah, most of us that run, our arms are like stuck by our side. You can see
Yep.
it in so many people's run.
And our shoulders are up at our ears, right?
Yeah. 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 And so, and then they say, go lift weights for cross training, and everyone does bicep curls,
Right. Yeah.
shoulder. So, anyway, just know that like I have gone through it myself. I love taking people through it. But one of the cool things when I'll say this, when I got into CrossFit, the methodology of CrossFit through running, I got hired to teach running with CrossFit, and I'd never heard of CrossFit at the time. It was like 2008, and they have this pyramid of movement, like things that like 10 movements or 10 elements of movements, and the bottom four are balance, coordination, accuracy, and agility. And that's what we work on the most in RunRX. And the top part, by the way, there's speed, there's endurance, which those are byproducts. And that's what's
Right.
cool. Those are byproducts. If you work on the bottom, which is what I just told you, then you start to have all the speed and the endurance comes when you work with the other parts. And of course, you need strength, of course, and you need to do all of these other things. But if you don't work on that foundation, it's really hard to keep running longer or to keep running faster because you're missing out on a huge part of like what you need. So what's so fun, and this is the best part I think of RunRX, by the way, is because you do the practice at home. You don't need to go outside and dance around in a parking lot. So I know people are, doing drills. People tell us all the time. It's not weird once you're with us, but
Right.
most people are like, people look at me funny if I do these drills, right? And then, that's inhibiting. And when I very first started teaching running, Dr. Romanoff said this. He said, look at women. They run with their upper body is closed. And you'll see
Yeah.
women, and I correct them all the time. Their hands are almost across their chest. And
Mhm.
that's a sign of closure.
Right.
Getting someone to open that up is vulnerable. In the beginning, it's a little scary. It's almost like you're opening yourself up, right?
Right.
And so, just so you know, like we understand all those things, but I didn't get it at first. And when he said that to me, I was like, what do you mean? And he said, well, you have to watch and you have to appreciate, you have to understand the person. You can't just yell at someone, stand up straight, open your chest and shoulders,
Yeah.
like get to know the person a little bit and see their movements and see how that movement pattern is affecting them. And then when they trust you and they start to get to know you and know everything you're giving them is helping them, you see them open up, you see their arms come out, you see it's really, really, guys, it's a really cool sensation. And it's again done through both that physical and mental work. But
So
we are awkward, let's just admit
yeah,
it.
so kind of to circle back, you kind of were saying this, and I kind of want to circle back to it because it's a great way to kind of finish up that when you watch her do the drills and you watch her do strength and stuff on Instagram, that's just like a little piece of it. But we really do kind of make that learning fun. and we integrate it into the daily stuff. You're already going out for your run. We're only asking for, like you said, 5 minutes.
Right.
Actually 3 to 5 minutes in some cases. And by opening that up, it actually helps you be a better runner, but it helps you be less awkward, let the run be truly, relaxing for you. And I know it sounds crazy, but we really do help you get the joy of running. And so if you're interested in finding out more about RunRX, go to RunRX, that's RunRX.fit. That's runrx.fit, and hit the Work with RunRX button. We have all sorts of ways that you can work with us, and we would love to have you join our group. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for joining us on the RunRX podcast. If you'd like to know more, join us at www.runrx.fit. And if you have additional questions that you'd like answered on the podcast, email us at support@runrx.fit.